11th Sunday in Ordinary Time Ure, chosen by God's love, and sent on God's mission. This reflection is prepared by Father Iob Francis, pastor at St. Jude Church, Grand Rapids, Michigan, USA. The readings of this Sunday reveal God's loving initiative toward His people and His desire that they become witnesses of His goodness. Throughout salvation history, God calls ordinary men and women into a special relationship with Him and entrusts them with a mission. In Jesus Christ, this call reaches its fullness as He sends His disciples to continue His work of healing and proclaiming the kingdom. These readings invite us to recognize our dignity as God's people and our responsibility to share His love with others. First reading, Exodus, chapter 19, verse 2-6. In the first reading, the Israelites arrive at Mount Sinai after being delivered from slavery in Egypt. God reminds them that He carried them on eagle's wings and brought them safely to Himself. He invites them into a covenant relationship, promising that they will be His treasured possession among all nations. God calls them to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Their identity is not based on power or achievements, but on God's gracious choice and love. This passage reminds us that we too are chosen by God and called to live as holy people who reflect His presence in the world. Psalm 100, verse 1, 2, 3, and 5. The psalm is a joyful hymn of praise that invites all people to worship the Lord with gladness. It reminds us that God created us, cares for us, and calls us His own people. Because His goodness, mercy, and faithfulness endure forever, we can trust Him and serve Him with joyful hearts. Second reading, Romans chapter 5 verse 6-11. St. Paul teaches that God's love is revealed most clearly in Christ's sacrifice for sinners. Jesus died for us not because we deserved it, but because God loved us while we were still weak and sinful. Through His death and resurrection, we have been reconciled with God and restored to friendship with Him. This gift of salvation is entirely the work of God's grace. Paul assures us that if Christ died for us while we were sinners, He will certainly continue to save and sustain us now that we belong to Him. These words fill us with gratitude and confidence in God's unfailing love. Gospel, Matthew 9, 36-10, 8. In the Gospel, Jesus looks upon the crowds with deep compassion because they are like sheep without a shepherd. He sees their suffering, confusion, and spiritual hunger. Jesus tells His disciples that the harvest is abundant, but the laborers are few. He urges them to pray for more workers to be sent into God's harvest. Then He calls the 12 apostles and gives them authority to preach, heal, and drive out evil spirits. They are sent to continue the mission of Jesus among God's people. Their task is to proclaim that the kingdom of heaven is at hand and to bring God's healing presence to those in need. This gospel reminds us that every Christian is called to be a missionary disciple who shares Christ's compassion and hope with the world. How we can live the message. Remember each day that we are God's chosen people and strive to live in a way that reflects His holiness and love. Show Christ's compassion by helping those who are lonely, suffering, discouraged, or in need of encouragement. Pray for vocations to the priesthood, religious life, and missionary service, and be willing to answer God's call in our own lives. Question for meditation. When Jesus looks upon the people around me with compassion, how is He calling me to become a laborer in His harvest and a messenger of His love?